The annual Harwood family gathering always felt less like a reunion, and more like a silent competition wrapped in linen tablecloths. That morning, sunlight poured through the vaulted windows of my grandmother's estate in Sonoma, painting soft golden stripes across crystal glasses and polished utensils. The entire farmhouse table glowed with the reflections. So did the people around it, or rather their egos did. Promotions, luxury vacations, real estate ventures, acceptance letters. Every conversation seemed desperate to outshine the last. I sat near the far end, quietly stirring my black coffee while the chorus of subtle bragging swelled around me. I had grown used to drifting at the edge of these gatherings. Not ignored, never that, but overlooked like a decorative vase everyone noticed yet no one really saw. Camille Harwood, my cousin and the family's prized prodigy, lifted her mimosa and smiled with theatrical modesty. Her designer blouse caught the light perfectly, as if even the sun had been trained to flatter her. "I just got word yesterday," she announced, "that I'm being considered for senior partner faster than anyone in the firm's history." She touched her sleek caramel bob with a practiced flick, the kind found only in luxury shampoo ads. Bringing in 7 new accounts helped. "They're calling me the future of Davenport Holdings." The table erupted in praise. My mother glowed as if Camille's achievements were her own. Brilliant Camille. Harvard and Davenport. Truly a winning combination. I managed a faint smile, though my mind lingered on the email I'd received earlier that morning. An email confirming that the robotic software company I built, Nexus Intelligence, born in a tiny rented workspace 5 years ago, had just crossed a $5.1 billion valuation. Another line in that email revealed that the Global Innovators magazine wanted me on their next cover. But of course no one here knew that. "And how about you, Aria?" Aunt Meredith turned toward me with her trademark half-sympathetic, half-condescending smile. "Still working on your... what was it? That little coding thing." "Systems engineering," I said evenly. "And yes, still working on it." To them, I was still the oddball who abandoned a well-paying consulting job to tinker with computers. 32 now, and they still spoke to me as though I were a teenager dabbling in a hobby instead of building an empire they couldn't even imagine. Camille's smirk sharpened. "That's cute, really. Tech can be fun. But it's not exactly high-stakes finance." She didn't know her firm had integrated Nexus Intelligence's predictive analytics software last quarter. Tech I personally architected. Uncle Martin leaned forward, swirling the ice in his whiskey. "At some point, Aria, you'll want to settle into something more stable. Real careers come with structure." I thought about the acquisition offers in my inbox. From Tesla, from Google, from a biotech firm in Boston, each one worth more than the entire Harwood property portfolio. "I'm doing just fine," I replied. Camille let out a small laugh. "If you say so. Last I heard, you're still renting that tiny loft in Oakland and driving some old hatchback." "I just closed on a penthouse near Central Park." "With your father co-signing the loan," I said gently. The table went silent. Camille's smile cracked slightly. "At least I'm doing something my family can be proud of," she muttered. "What exactly have you built?" I set down my cup. If only she knew. But the truth has a strange way of rising to the surface, and by the end of that brunch, the Harwoods would discover just how wrong they had been about me, and how quietly I had been rewriting the rules. A hush settled after my remark, that heavy kind of silence where everyone pretends they aren't offended but their eyes say otherwise. I didn't flinch. Over the years, I had mastered the art of staying still while people tried to shrink me. My mother leaned closer, lowering her voice as if she feared the truth might stain the tablecloth. "Sweetheart, we just worry. These experimental jobs aren't always secure. You're so smart, why not aim for something steady? There's no shame in starting over." There it was, the familiar script. I turned my coffee cup slowly in my hands, letting the warmth ground me. "I don't need to start over," I said softly. Camille lifted one perfectly arched eyebrow. "Oh, something new to share." Her tone dripped with forced sweetness, the kind that stains worse than bitterness. I could have told them everything right then. About Nexus Intelligence's valuation. About the calls from investors. About the cover story waiting to go live. But I knew this family. They didn't listen unless the world had already applauded you. So I simply said, "I'm satisfied with where I am." A chorus of polite chuckles swept down the table. Even my father joined in, shaking his head as though humoring a child caught pretending to be an astronaut. Camille tapped the rim of her glass. Well, if you ever need something more stable, I can always talk to HR at my firm. We're hiring for junior assistants on the compliance team. You're good with spreadsheets, right? The laughter sharpened. Barbs wrapped in politeness. Smugness baked into every smile. Kept mine steady. What none of them realized was that Camille's firm was on the list of companies requesting expanded integration with Nexus Intelligence. My company. They were relying on my software to save themselves millions, while mocking the person who built it. And you, Camille, my mother added, her voice laced with proud anticipation. Tell everyone about your new lake house. Oh yes, Camille said with a dramatic sigh. Bought it last month. The bonus this year was generous. She threw me a look. Though I'm sure that kind of financial milestone is hard to understand when you're still renting. I stared at her, really stared. The flawless facade. The glassy confidence. The ego built on borrowed validation. It hit me then how little they knew of me. Not because I hid, but because they never bothered to look beyond their own reflections. I rose slowly, stacking my napkin neatly beside my plate. Leaving already? Aunt Meredith asked. We haven't even cut the peach tart. I have an early meeting, I replied. At that co-working hub? She asked with a thin smile. If only they knew. That humble co-working loft I occasionally visited wasn't my main workspace at all. The real Nexus Intelligence headquarters, 3 immaculate floors overlooking the San Francisco skyline, was something no one at this table had ever taken the time or interest to see. Camille leaned back in her chair, victorious. Some of us work where real decisions are made, Arya. I paused in the doorway, my fingers brushing the ornate wooden frame. Slowly, deliberately I turned. You know what's interesting? Yes. The room quieted. Not once in the last 5 years has any of you asked what my company actually does. Camille laughed lightly. Why would we? It's not like you're revolutionizing anything. I studied her for a moment. My cousin who measured worth in bonuses and square footage, unaware that her success sat on the foundation of my innovation. Maybe you're right, I said with a small, unreadable smile. Maybe some of us just build differently. Her smile broadened, thinking this was another concession to her superiority. Exactly. Finally admitting it. No, Camille, I said. Just admitting that we define success differently. Her expression flickered, confused, almost unsettled. I added, and you might want to check tomorrow's Global Innovators issue. Why? She scoffed. Did they publish another article on rising finance stars? Something like that. And then I left, stepping into the crisp Sonoma air, the echo of their laughter fading behind me. But what awaited me outside that estate? The car hidden behind the hedges, the message glowing on my phone, and the avalanche of truth about to descend, would flip their world upside down far sooner than they expected. The cool Sonoma breeze brushed against my face as I stepped onto the gravel driveway, leaving behind the stale air of judgment and polite poison. The old hatchback I pretended to drive to family events sat where I'd left it, parked in plain sight, the perfect camouflage. But I walked right past it, my footsteps crunching softly toward the far corner of the driveway where tall hedges concealed what my family never bothered to notice. Tucked behind the greenery was my real car, a deep obsidian Astrovolt Seraph, an all-electric luxury prototype not yet released to the public. Nexus Intelligence had collaborated on the vehicle's neural driving system, granting me access months before launch. Its sleek body gleamed under the fading light like a secret whisper of the life I'd built for myself. Quiet, intentional, powerful. I opened the door, the interior lighting rising in a soft gradient of blues. As I settled into the seat, my phone pinged with a new notification. Global Innovators. Cover confirmed. Official announcement scheduled for 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Congratulations, Arya. The world is about to meet you. A slow smile crept across my face, not one of arrogance, but of release, like exhaling after holding your breath for too long. Inside the estate, Camille was probably pouring another mimosa and announcing the square footage of her lake house. Meanwhile, the software powering half her firm's investment decisions had been written in my bedroom during sleepless nights she once mocked me for. The irony tasted sweet. I tucked the phone into the console and powered up the car. The electric hum vibrated through my seat. Clean, efficient, almost serene. A stark contrast to the noise I'd just escaped. As I pulled onto the winding road leading away from my grandmother's vineyard, another message popped up. This time from a name I recognized all too well. Davenport Holdings. Executive team. Urgent. Requesting immediate expansion of Nexus Intelligence Analytics package. Camille Harwood indicates you are available for consultation. I laughed. An involuntary, genuine laugh. Camille, who had just offered me an entry-level spreadsheet job, had spoken of me to her executive board as though I were her personal consultant. She had no idea Nexus Intelligence was mine. The setting sun cast long amber streaks across the road as I drove. The vineyards blurred into a mosaic of gold and shadow, the kind of landscape you see on postcards, the kind my family framed as though beauty could be bought. My phone buzzed again. This time, I let it ring. I wasn't ready to play interpreter for her sudden curiosity. Then came another Dad. Then Aunt Meredith. Then Camille. Clearly the whispers had already begun inside the estate. Someone had no doubt checked the magazine's website, or perhaps a notification had leaked early. Either way, the silence I had carried for years was slipping through their fingers like sand. By the time I reached the highway, the horizon was lit in fiery streaks of orange. The city skyline peeked through the haze, and my thoughts drifted to the real Nexus headquarters. 3 glass floors at the top of the Lumitech Tower in downtown San Francisco. No co-working hubs. No makeshift offices. No little projects. Not anymore. As I approached the city, my phone buzzed once more. This time from my assistant, Kira. Arya, CNBC confirms your interview slot for tomorrow morning. Prep briefing updated and sent. Also, Davenport CFO called twice. They're getting nervous. Smirk. Let them. The wind rushed past my window as the city lights glimmered like stars scattered across the ground. For the first time all day, the world felt aligned. My world, the one I had built in silence. They wanted to laugh at me. Tomorrow the world would laugh with me. But nothing prepared me for what came next. The frantic calls, the demands for explanations, and the sudden realization spreading through my family that they hadn't overlooked a failure. They had underestimated a titan. By the time I reached the base of the Lumitech Tower, night had settled over San Francisco like a velvet curtain. The building rose above me, an obsidian monolith of mirrored glass and quiet power. 3 entire floors belonged to Nexus Intelligence, though nobody in my family had ever bothered to ask where I worked or what I created. They still pictured me hunched over a shared desk in some dim Oakland loft. The elevator whisked me upward, the soft hum of familiar comfort. When the door slid open onto the 47th floor, I stepped into the world I had built. Wide glass windows overlooking the city, polished concrete floors, living walls of greenery, and a row of screens displaying real-time analytics from global partners. Logistics companies, medical systems, hedge funds, manufacturing plants. The hum of success. Silent, steady, undeniable. My phone vibrated again. 7 missed calls. 3 new voicemails. I ignored them and crossed the open floor plan toward my office, the city lights reflecting through the glass corridor like constellations guiding my steps. My assistant Kira spotted me immediately and hurried over. "You've had quite a night," she said, half amused, half exhausted. "Your family found the article early." Course they had. I booted up my workstation, the screens flaring to life with dashboards, data streams, and system logs. Before I could settle in, my phone rang again. Camille. I let it ring. Then again. And again. Finally I sighed and answered. "What?" I said, not bothering with pleasantries. Her voice burst through the speaker, frantic and breathless. "Arya. Arya, you didn't tell me. You didn't tell anyone. You're the founder of Nexus Intelligence." The Arya Clark on the magazine cover. The valuation, $5 billion. "You built that." "Yes," I said calmly. "I did. But we've been using your software for months. Why didn't you say anything?" "You never asked." She sputtered. "But why would you? Why didn't you tell the family?" "Because you were all too busy applauding yourselves to listen." Silence. For once, Camille had no clever line, no triumphant smile, no smug retort. Then she whispered, voice tight. "Arya, my team is panicking. The board wants to renegotiate the contract. If they find out I didn't know who you were, they'll question your competency." I finished for her. "How tragic." "I'm serious," she hissed. "My bonus depends on this deal. My promotion, my track to partner, everything is tied to your software." There it was. Not concern, not pride. Fear of losing her status. "Then maybe," I said coolly, "next time don't mock people you don't understand." I ended the call before she could respond. A moment later, another call came through. I debated letting it ring out. Instead, I answered. "Aria," she shrieked. "Is it true? The article? The photos? Why didn't you tell us? How could you keep something like this from your own family?" "Tell you what? That I succeeded." I leaned back in my leather chair, the lights of the city shimmering behind me. "You never asked. You never believed in what I was building." "But 5 billion, she gasped. "That's more than our entire family's net worth combined." "Yes," I said. "It is. And your father, he's in shock. He wants to understand how you did it." I closed my eyes, not with exhaustion but with clarity. "He didn't want to understand when I started." Silence. Heavy, dense, revealing. Then she added softly, "Your father wants to talk to you. Please just give him a moment." Before I could answer, my phone buzzed with another notification. Alex Rowan, anchor for CNBC, confirming my segment for tomorrow morning. I looked out at the city. At the world I had carved with my own hands. At the empire built from rejected ideas and underestimated potential. Everything had changed. Not because they finally noticed me, but because they couldn't ignore me anymore. But the real shockwave hit the next morning. When the world reacted, contracts shifted overnight, and my family realized their hierarchy had just been rewritten from the ground up. Morning arrived not gently, but with the electric hum of a world waking up to a headline it hadn't seen coming. Global Innovators Exclusive. Meet Aria Clark, the quiet mind behind the $5.1 billion intelligence revolution. My face, composed, confident, illuminated by the skyline, stretched across the front page. By 7 a.m. the article had flooded every major feed. LinkedIn, X, financial blogs, tech newsletters, even those top achievers under 35 lists that always felt curated for the same recycled faces. And while the world buzzed with excitement, my family's group chat burned. 48 unread messages, 14 missed calls, 6 voicemails, 3 voice notes, and 1 video call request from Dad. I ignored them all. Instead, I sat in the makeup chair at CNBC headquarters, the bustling studio warm with bright lights and the smell of coffee. Assistants rushed past adjusting headsets, anchors rehearsed scripts, and producers whispered into earpieces. It was organized chaos, my favorite kind. Alex Rowan, the host for the morning segment, approached me with a smile sharp enough to cut glass. "Aria Clark," he said, shaking my hand firmly. "You've been the story of the hour. No one saw you coming." "That was the idea," I replied. He laughed. "Let's give them something worth talking about." As he walked away, Kira hurried to my side with her tablet. "Your inbox is a wildfire," she muttered. "The Department of Energy wants to schedule a meeting. 3 Fortune 100 companies want exclusivity negotiations. And Davenport Holdings." She paused. "They're practically begging." I sipped my water, unbothered. "Let them wait." Kira looked at me with admiration. "You know, this is one of those moments people spend their whole lives imagining." "I didn't imagine it," I said. "I built it." Studio staff rushed us onto the set. The cameras were positioned. The lights dimmed. A director counted down. "We're live in 5, 4, 3. Alex smiled into the camera. "Good morning. Today we're speaking with a woman the tech world is calling the quiet architect of the future. Aria Clark, founder and CEO of Nexus Intelligence, joins us for her first ever live interview." I exhaled slowly, grounding myself. "Aria," he continued, "your company has reshaped logistics, energy management, predictive analytics, and strategic automation, but you stayed almost invisible until this week. Why?" I met his gaze, steady. "Because innovation grows best in silence. And I didn't need applause to build something meaningful." "Most people want recognition," Alex said. "You didn't." "I wanted impact. Recognition comes later, usually when the results are too big to ignore." A producer behind the camera mouthed, "Wow." We dove into deeper questions about the neuromorphic interface Nexus was developing, the ethics behind AI-driven decision systems, the global partners adopting our tech. It wasn't flashy. It was precise. It was everything my family had dismissed as a cute little project. When the interview ended, Alex leaned in privately. "You're about to change everything, you know that?" Smiled. "I already have." As I walked off set, Kira rushed over again. "Your dad is calling again," she said softly. "Do you want to take it?" I shook my head. "Not yet." Because right now wasn't about them. It was about the years of quiet discipline. The nights spent coding until sunrise. The failures no one saw. The breakthroughs no one believed in. The vision I protected when everyone else laughed. But as we stepped into the black car waiting outside the studio, my phone buzzed with a message that made me pause. Camille, we need to talk. The board wants answers. Please, I need your help. I stared at the message for a moment. Then I locked my phone. Not yet. Because the storm that hit that afternoon, contracts shifting, hierarchies collapsing, and my family scrambling to rewrite their narrative, would prove that success doesn't just open doors. It forces the world to rearrange itself around you. The storm began before noon. By the time my car pulled into the Nexus headquarters lobby, my phone was vibrating non-stop. Calls from investors, journalists, CEOs, government agencies, and yes, my family. I ignored all of them. Inside the building, the atmosphere pulsed with energy. Employees hurried across the open floors with a kind of urgency found only in companies standing on the edge of global transformation. Screens along the walls flickered with real-time reports. Traffic spikes, contract inquiries, system load surges, press mentions rising by the second. As I walked through, conversations paused. Heads turned. Eyes widened. Not with fear, not with worship, but with recognition. My team didn't treat me like a mystery anymore. They treated me like the leader I had always been. Kira matched my pace, tablet in hand. The dominoes are falling, she said. Davenport Holdings moved your contract to priority status. 2 of your competitors tried to poach them, but the board declined, said they wanted to speak directly with you. Interesting, I said. And Camille, Kira added carefully, has called 4 more times. Course she had. We reached my office, the glass walls glowing softly from the skylight above. A fresh batch of messages waited on my screen. Requests for interviews, acquisition propositions, partnership opportunities, invitations to panels, summits, conferences. And then, the message I had been expecting. Incoming call, Dad. I let it ring twice before answering. His voice came through thick, uneven. Arya, sweetheart, why didn't you tell us? Why keep us in the dark? Because you weren't listening, I said calmly. You never were. He sighed, a heavy sound full of years of assumption. This is all so much. We didn't know you were doing anything like this. That's because you never asked, I replied. You wanted me to follow a path you understood. When I didn't, you dismissed everything else as childish. That's not fair, he protested, but even he didn't sound convinced. It's honest. Silence stretched between us. Uncomfortable, revealing, overdue. Then he softened. Arya, we're proud of you. Truly. We just wish you had told us sooner. I didn't respond. Pride offered after the world validates you isn't pride. It's convenience. Before he could say more, another call beeped through. Camille. I switched lines. Her voice cracked the moment she spoke. Arya, please. Please don't ignore me. The board is threatening to suspend me. They said I withheld essential information. They think I knew who you were and hid it. You didn't know because you didn't care, I said simply. Please, she whispered. I know I've said things. I know I've acted superior. But you can't let them terminate my partnership track. You understand what that means. I do, I said. It means you're finally experiencing something the rest of us deal with every day. Being underestimated. She inhaled sharply. You wouldn't let them cut us off. Your software built our entire model. If you pull the plug. Camille, I interrupted. I don't pull plugs. Build systems. You were the one who insisted some people just aren't built for success. Her breath hitched. I didn't mean you. You didn't think about me, I corrected. Long pause. Then she whispered. I'm sorry. It wasn't enough. But it was something. I'll review the contract, I said. Professionally. Nothing more. Thank you, she breathed, but I'd already ended the call. I stood, walked to the window, and looked out at the vast city stretching into the horizon. For years, I chased validation from people who couldn't see beyond themselves. I waited for approval from voices that never mattered. I tried to earn respect from those who only valued what they understood. But now the world understood me. Kira stepped into the office quietly, ready for the afternoon briefing. I turned to her, strength settling into my bones. Yes, I said. Let's get back to building. Because success isn't revenge. Success isn't applause. Success isn't even the billion-dollar headlines. Success is finally realizing you never needed their permission in the first place. And if you've ever been underestimated, overlooked, or dismissed, remember this. The world doesn't get to decide your worth. You do. Build quietly. Rise loudly. And when they finally look up, make sure they can't ignore what you've become.